Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video, consider subscribing to my channel, and if you dislike the content, please leave a comment. Now I am moving on to my next build. I am going for one more build after this, so let's see if I can do it. Now, this build is going to be the Stratios uh, faction ship. Now, the Stratios faction ship is a drone cruiser, but it is also a Black Ops. Now, this makes it a very special type of vessel altogether because I haven't touched Black Ops at all. Now, one advantage to it is it uses Black Ops cloaking devices. That means if you run this vessel, you can actually go invisible and then deploy your fleets. Now, it does have several good advantages. Number one, minus 100% cloaking device lock delay. So, the moment it comes out, it can start locking onto enemies and you can fire immediately. Very, very quick to use vessel. Second thing with it is it's minus 50% device reactivation delay. So once you have come out of your cloak, you have 50% less time before you can recloak again. So that cooldown timer is half on this vessel. Okay, now advanced archaeology bonus per level. I don't know about which research this is exactly. Let me just double check on it. I haven't seen advanced archaeology. I'm going to suspect it's in social science. No, it's not there. I believe archaeology is one of these in it doesn't sound like something that's part of combat. So I'm a little bit surprised to see it. I have no idea where the research is. I'll just open it out with by tapping on it. Let's have a look. Oh wait, now there is something else you can do. You go down in the lower section of the ship and you hit on the descriptions 3 dots. Sorry about that. I didn't notice that it was an archaeology bonus. I thought it was another type of bonus, but I'll get back to it later. So it increases your cargo hold capacity, it increases your scan resolution, and it increases your scan strength. Now I'm going to look for it a little bit later as I go down the list. Advanced command will give you plus 25% drone DPS, plus 4% armor resistance on your drones. Sorry, no, plus 4% resistance on your ship, and plus 3 kilometers control range for your drones. So a total of 125 percent additional attack on your drones that makes it in the same class as the Gila. It also has plus 15 kilometers range, so also quite a good range on your drones. The next thing is it doesn't have any specifics to weapons, so you can always switch out your weapon slots. Now, looking at it, 20,000 defense, 202 meters per second, 3 AU, 820 megawatts, 2844 gigajoule capacitor, and a massive cargo hold. Now this is going to show me. It didn't show me where the archaeology bonus is. Normally this shows up with the vessels. It might not be in the game as yet, and yeah, I think that's just it. That's how come it isn't showing up. So it's something that is to come in the future DLCs with the game. Now another thing to note about it is an armor boat, so it has more armor. I'm just going to open that up in a second. Okay, now there was something that threw me off. I have rehearsed this like 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to leave it in because it shows that even though I do know what I'm talking about, sometimes I do miss items. So as you can see, the armor. Wait, no, the armor is second to the best. Another mistake. It has 5,802 total armor. Now it has a stronger structure, but anybody who's going to reinforce structure over armor when you're making tank is always going to be at a loss. Now, since this here has Covert Ops features, it's going to be slightly different in how you're going to deploy it. Now, I'm not even going to go to the weapons first because of its small how do I put it? It's wait, it was still open. I don't know why I did this. Because of its small power grid, I didn't even remember the exact figure. I would suggest using something like a railgun or a missile launcher on this vessel. That's going to reduce the energy requirement for you ridiculously in terms of your power grid and allow you to fit on better fittings later on. So yeah, it's 820. So let me do all of the calculations. 820 and that makes it 1148. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not sure about adding to it with extra power because you could always leave your power within a good range. Now I'm going to start this off with Covert Ops because that is one of the only things I haven't touched. Cloaking devices, here we go. It is a low slot fitting, so it does have 4 low slots, and the moment you add this on, everything changes. You're now reducing the number of low slots you have available. Let me just double check on availability. Not available. Not available. And is this finally available? Yes. So you can only use MK7 with it. None of the faction class covert ops features are available. So let's have a look at this vessel. It's going to require 1 megawatt. So there it is, a small little deduction from it. So 1 megawatt for the cloaking device. That leaves you with 3 low slots to go, and you're going to be determining how you're going to fight with this vessel. Now, the largest range possible for you is going to be the best option. Remember, if it means you're changing to a heavier power draining weapon, you're changing to a heavier power draining weapon. That's that, and that's how it's going to go. So, since this ship requires you to go cloaked and do such covert ops, I'm going to suggest a micro warp drive. The element of surprise is everything for you. Players are going to get surprised when you pitch up out of nowhere right next to them. And if you don't have the element of surprise, it's going to be nice to just disappear. So, a 167 reduction in power, that will leave you with 980 megawatts. Now, everything is being calculated that you have completed your cruiser engineering to advanced, and it is the standard if you are going for these vessels. If you decided to have one of these vessels and you decided to do battle cruiser at the same time, it's not going to work out the best for you. I suggest you reallocate your battle cruiser command or battle cruiser statistics into this vessel. This vessel is still way more powerful than them. You have to wait for them to reach the end of T8 before they're going to be a viable match for this type of vessel. Okay, so there you go, micro warp drive. Next thing, you want to have a little bit of speed. Nah, I'm not going to go the route of adding extra speed to it. I only have 2 more slots available, and this is going to be a heavy assault, quickly in and out. Micro warp drive is there to get you your range in terms of getting to your perfect orbit. You're going to use it to engage and get maybe to about 60 kilometers on the vessel if you have that much of research. If not, you're going to jump out to something like 40 Ks and hit it hard. So I'm going to say a shield booster, even though it is an armor type vessel. So let's go shield booster on it. Now, you might be wondering why a shield booster. Armor tanking is a very viable option. You could always go with armor booster and armor hardener. That will be 1 and 111 megawatt drain. So 112 megawatts. But you could always go shield hardener and shield booster for the standard build. It always helps you in the easier section because it makes a quick and easy reduction to your power, and it's not something so difficult that you have to work on it quite hard. If you're going with the other option of adding the 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 repair option, let me just work out how much of power you'd have left. you have 868 megawatts left on the vessel. Now, with that much of power, you can do just about anything. What I would suggest you doing is immediately improving your, let's see, you have 4 mid slots to go. You have your weapon slots. Let's go straight to the weapon slots. I even said that you're going to go with the Hardener, and there's going to be your basic options. You're using micro warp drive to get range at any time, and you don't really have such a heavy drain on your power that you need anything major. If you get too close, you're most probably going to use Norse to get out of it. So that's going to be about it. Let's see what else there was. I'm just going to show you the, sorry, wrong one, the Hardener anyway. You're not going to use reactive, you're going to use adaptive. You're going to use the best you can possibly buy, and there you go. Okay, so there was your 4 low slots. Your low slots were the Covert Ops cloaking device, your micro warp drive, shield booster, and shield hardener. Now you might be wondering, why is it having the shield booster and shield hardener? It's just to give you a few seconds to warp out to a safe distance. Now, considering that I have put in those fittings, you could always swap out your hardener for a warp core stabilizer. That's whichever hardener you're using, whichever boosting system you want to go with. You can always play it into the armor if you'd like. It is very viable with this type of vessel. They have fantastic durability, so going with the armor boat is quite option for you. So there will be armor repair and armor hardener, and as I said, you would have 868 megawatts to work with if you went with the armor repair. Whichever repair you go with is not going to make much of a difference because this wasn't made for close range fighting. It's meant for the surprise and quick hit. So you're going to pitch up out of nowhere and you're just going to blast through someone. That's how you play it. You're waiting for that optimal moment when you can make a difference in a fight. Now, going up to weapons. Considering what this power grid looks like, you have multiple options on weapons. You can go with your standard Norse if you ever want to. You can go with warp disruptors, webifiers. The sky's the limit when it comes to you, and it is going to make a massive difference for how you play the game. Now, I'm not even going to go into the other option for the Norse. If you decide to go with the laser option, you're not going to have much extra power. There are options to extend that power. I wouldn't go with it. 111 extra megawatts of power on the vessel do sound good, but it's not really in your best interest to move in that manner. So I am going to go saying that you're going to use everything in medium class in your mid slot for this vessel. That's going to be double webifiers. That's -1, -1. Let me go to show you. That will be -2 megawatts to your total system. And then a double Nosferatu, that will be 176. And you still have 690 megawatts to deal with however you want to. Now, you could always overload the system with a large weapon system or a large Norse, but I strongly suggest that you don't do it. The reason is there isn't a reason to have such a massive system on this. Your power drain isn't ridiculously heavy, and you will have a way to get out of it. I am going to go back into the ship at the end of this and look at your power capacitor before I go through with my rigs. Now, that was something I didn't even double check on since all the ships were quite constant. When it comes to drones, I would go 4 Vespers for this vessel. Let me just close this. Now, the 4 Vespers will give you the best impact with this vessel. They're going to reach the furthest, they're going to hit the hardest, and they're going to give you the most overall damage within the class that you want. And they cost only 4 megawatts to your overall power. That means you have 686 megawatts if you're going with the armor boat, which is going to give you the most amount of a gain in terms of using this vessel. So let's go up into your weapons. Now, as I said, you have only 3 weapon slots. So whatever you deploy it doesn't make a difference. You want to keep range with these weapons. Now, if you go with lasers, you're keeping that range with lasers. But whatever your weapon is that you are keeping on the back, I'm going to go with the missile build. That's because I favor missiles and I have missiles, so it isn't really going to hurt me. Now, you're going to notice something really odd. I did say I'm going with missiles, and you have two options. You can go rapids. Let's see if rapids have been nerfed in a major way. No, they haven't been hurt that badly by what I can see. You can go rapids or you can go missile launchers. Let me have a look at the C type here. As you can see, there's a slight distance. The further back you can sit, the better it is for you. You're already getting a massive drone range advantage. The bigger your drone range and the further out you can sit, the safer it is for you to play. It is fantastic to use in PvE. In PvP, this vessel is going to be a total killer as well, just like any other of the faction ships. The only difference is it can get quite expensive if players take out your drones. Now, playing a full slot of drones, if you've already afforded the ship, is absolutely cheap for you. You can afford to buy the full cargo hold of drones. There isn't anything to say against it. You load up your cargo hold with the maximum number of drones and fight that way. Okay, so your weapons could be missile launchers. Now, these are slightly heavier on power consumption at 58 megawatts apiece. That means that total you're running at 174 megawatts, so minus 174, and you are 512 megawatts shy of reaching the end. Now, if you went the route of using a large Nosferatu, which, as I said, there isn't much of a reason to do, you would improve that distance with the Nosferatu. That's going to be a 16 kilometer. You can only afford to put one on any of these vessels, and you're going to have to sacrifice one of your rigs, and then your power grid is still going to have a slight amount left because you're going to be right in the category of losing power, or you're going to have to sacrifice some of your weapons in terms of jumping down a class in power to rapid missile launches and reducing your range. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing that because you aren't going to play that close. Stay out of Norse range, out of Weber fire range. That is the whole idea with these vessels. You want to be able to get up close where you can launch and fire first. The whole idea is to get the advantage in that first 5 seconds of the fight. Make sure you have enough drone control and enough drone research. Now, getting back to it, I'm going to talk about the rigs. The fittings on the ship, I'm happy with it. I've given the two options. I don't see a very different build between PvP and PvE. The simple reason is in PvP you might give it in PvE you might give it an afterburner in place of a shield hardener. It isn't going to make any difference to the power grid on the ship. It's going to allow you to move around a little bit faster, but there isn't going to be that much of a difference. Drone boats are really OP for PvP. You can take a Vexer Navy issue from the first story mission all the way to a T10 story mission, and it's going to do fantastic. You just take care of any and all small vessels, and then you take care of all the big vessels afterwards. You can even autopilot through the big vessels. That just means you go into your settings, you set everything to default, so whatever you've set your orbits to, you'll orbit at default range and you will fire and lock onto enemies as needed. And that is how it will work, and it's going to be auto lock back and fire. So you're just going to keep swapping targets and everything is going to get wiped out once all the small ships are gone. So that's the only amount of input you have to put in. So you could farm Bad Hair Day all day with this vessel if you were in PvE, sorry. In PvP, using the ship, remember you're always taking that risk with stealth vessel. The only time that you really use a stealth vessel is to break meetup of enemy players. You surprise them by popping up in weird areas like in the middle of the entire meeting, and you just open fire really heavy. Remember, your signature is really well hidden, so they won't see you till the last second, and there isn't a delay in your locking. So you're going to start locking before them. You can deploy, and remember, drones hit really hard. They have to target your drones and you, and they have to choose between hitting your drones or hitting you. Taking out any drone is the fastest method to taking out the ship. If it can't do heavy damage, it goes down. But if you manage to hold a full cargo hold, considering that they did say they were repairing the drone deployment system, if they take it out, it will just keep deploying and it now becomes a viable solution in PvP. The cost of it is nothing to you, especially since you're in a 1.7 billion ISK vessel. Sorry, my voice is a little bit rough. So going back into it, I just wanted to check its recharge speed on power. It does have a very large grid in consideration, 2844 gigajoules, enough to run continuous shield boosters. I hit the wrong. Okay, now let's look at this. Okay, yes, its recharge rate is a bit low. So let's go through what the engineering fittings will be first, and then I'll go into the fittings for the rest of the vessel. Now, unlike a regular vessel, you want its signature to be as small as possible. So in your engineering, when you're going into the power options, you're going to increase the capacitor, so multiplier, by the maximum that you can afford, that's a level 2, and by the maximum uh, reduction in recharge time. So that's going to improve the rate at which you're gaining energy back. And the last one you're going to do is reduce your signature. Now, the reason for reducing a signature on a vessel is to make sure that you can hide a lot better and that your signature radius becomes smaller and smaller. When your signature radius is very small, it means vessels have to pass closer and closer to you to be able to lock on. So 104 meters means basically that is all the radius that you are giving off. They can miss you quite easily. And the bigger your radius, the worse it is for you, because it means they can lock onto you from further and further away at a better and better rate. Okay, so those were the three in terms of engineering. In terms of weapons, sorry, you're going to either increase your durability of the vessel, so a full defense rig plus 25% bonus to your shield booster, that's going to stay constant, plus 25% boost to your drone damage, that is also another good one, and plus 25% to your primary weapon. Now, that is one of the best rigs to set up on this vessel, since it isn't really focused on any one aspect of combat. If you want to make it a complete combat rig with the maximum range for your drones, you can improve your drones all the way by giving them all of the slots. That means you're going to give them more range and you're going to give them more HP. So the more health they have, the better it is for a PvP situation. The more DPS they do, the better it is for you in terms of any operation that you're doing. The next thing that you can do to improve it a little bit further is you could always go a full setup for speed on the vessel. That means one of your rigs, which is going to be your, let's see, which one would it be? Your sensor rig would change off to sorry to a navigation rig for speed, adding a little bit more velocity, and you change up your shield hardener or your armor hardener for afterburner to give you a little bit of speed. Or you can swap out your micro warp drive and you can interchange in that manner. Remember, you only have 4 slots, so everything is interdependent. If you're using it solo in PvE, you can take off the Covert Ops cloaking device and make it a full shield boat or a full armor boat or a full assault vessel. It's purely up to you in terms of what you do. Now, there are so many options when it comes to this vessel because it's versatile with whatever you're going to mix it up with. Remember, your optimal range on your weapons always determines how close you're going to be, so you don't engage your high slot weapons unless you have to. If something comes too close, you activate your high slot weapons and you attack it to increase your damage as fast as possible. Okay, so that's going to be it on the build for the Stratos. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.